Some facilities housing unaccompanied migrant children are doing so without a license. That is according to a group of lawyers entrusted by a court to oversee how and where unaccompanied children are housed. The lead attorney tells CBS News more than a dozen facilities were unable to produce licenses when inspected. CBS News investigative reporter Graham Cates has been tracking this for us. Graham, thank you so much for joining us. What excellent reporting you're doing here. So it turns out that the largest facility housing unaccompanied migrant children in the U.S. is not licensed. Is that right?
That's right. This is a facility in Homestead, Florida, and it holds as much as 10% of the entire population of unaccompanied children in the country. And this facility and the others that were flagged by these lawyers it's not just some random attorneys that are highlighting it. These are the team of, it's about 250 people who are the only ones allowed to really oversee the system under court order.
So it turns out that these facilities are, in essence, breaking the law. Is that right?
That's what the lawyers are saying, and that's what they told the Department of Justice in a letter about 3 weeks ago.
And what is the Department of Justice expected to do now?
It didn't comment to me when I asked about it. The thing is, the lead lawyer in this case told me that they actually haven't even heard back from the Department of Justice either, and it is required to confer with them about this.
So they need to respond?
Yes.
So let's backtrack and see if we can get a handle on the numbers. I know we don't know exactly how many migrant children are being held in these facilities right now, but it's at least 10,000. Is that right?
Yeah, there's currently in the entire system, there are 10,700 children. And in these unlicensed facilities, we know at the very minimum, there's at least 10% of them in these unlicensed facilities because that one has 10% of the whole population. And
you say that legally the facilities are only allowed to hold them for up to 20 days. Is that correct? And then they're supposed to go with a sponsor or into a foster family if after 20 days they aren't placed? Yeah,
and that's actually in really rare scenarios. So the agreement says really it's supposed to be 3 days, but you can do up to 20 in an emergency or an influx situation. But the average right now is about 60 days.
60 days. So is that also breaking the law? Are these laws or are these just sort of guidelines?
The Flores Agreement is what this whole thing is. It's this decades-old settlement that is very detailed in how it says you can hold unaccompanied children, and it says, yeah, basically 3 days up to 20 in an emergency. And when you say the average is 60 days, that means that there are kids who are held for much longer than that.
This sounds like a dire situation because you also report that one of the facilities, I believe it's Comprehensive Health Services, is that right, based in Florida, is set to double in size because of the demand. Is that right?
Yeah, and this is really a unique situation. That's the Homestead facility, the largest one.
So that's the one that's one of the ones that's not licensed.
Yes, and because it's not licensed, it's not able to access Florida's child abuse and neglect background check system. So it's doubling in size, and that means it's also hiring hundreds of new workers, and it's not able to say, we know for sure that in Florida there haven't been any red flags about any of these people.
So these children are being potentially put at risk because these facilities are not, obeying the law, according to these lawyers who've been investigating it. And the next step is the Department of Justice has to do something or say something about it.
Yeah, the lawyer was, when I spoke to the lead lawyer in the case, he said, we have to do this meeting called a meet and confer, but if that doesn't work out, we're going to push the judge to make a demand about these facilities.
And that the judge will have to make some kind of response.
Yeah, there's 20 years of precedent at this point about following the Flores Agreement, especially when it comes to state licenses.
All right, well, let's hope that these facilities get licensed for the safety of those children.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Graham.